I stand my ground with the words of the founders echoing around. Liberty's flame in my veins, burning bright. I hold to the rights that we fight for each night.
I like it.
I'm a constitutionalist through and through. Proud of this nation, the home of the true. Values that bind us from sea to shining sea. Family faith and the land of the free. Hearts full of grit.
Yes, welcome to the Constitutionalist. Don't worry, my hair didn't grow back. This is not Eric Rollins here. This is producer Philville, Filipino here on the Constitutionalist. And we have a very surprise for you. First of all, that was the first surprise. That is our new show intro. I am a Constitutionalist.
I like it. Did you create that one?
Thank you. Hope you like it. Do you like it?
Yeah.
Okay, then yeah, I did create that one. we'll reveal more as we go. Okay. Working out some bugs in the production part of it. I got my new studio here where we have the podcast layer, but I'm kind of converting back a little bit to more recording some audio. If you don't know, I am a musician by day, a podcaster by night.
And that was your voice singing?
That was a friend. I just call it a friend. Maybe it was me. Maybe it wasn't me. Let's just say it was a friend.
It sounded like you.
A little twang in there. Okay. Well, we'll see.
Well, your down home roots.
Yeah, I was born on the countryside of Mendota. No, it's like here in the valley. Yeah, so I am born and raised here in the valley. I am. Oh, by the way, those
had
of
a
you,
little bit of that Bakersfield twang.
You got the Bakersfield twang. Hispanic is called a lisp. Just kidding.
Nah, Tejano twang.
Tejano twang. Okay. Even though I don't speak Spanish, I don't know how that came about. Well, I have.
No español?
You probably
Poquito?
know more than me.
Ay, Chihuahua.
Yeah, so I just want to remind the audience here, this is not Delusions. You might have seen me before. This is not a shameless plug, but it is a shameless plug. If you need to follow, you like the jokes, go there. If you don't like it, just get me fired.
Just a warning for all the audience.
Yes.
When there's an attempt at humor, there's supposed to be jokes, and in theory, they're supposed to be funny.
Attempt, okay, in theory. Okay, hey, so
I don't want to scare them off. They don't know where we're going.
So the rule of my joke, so I think you already know my rule. So the rule my wife knows when we got married, by the way, we've been married 20 years as of yesterday.
Congratulations.
Yes, we were married. I think I was a permission slip. I was 12 years old or 16. Just kidding. we 20 years celebrating. So my wife, we have a rule. I tell jokes is for me, but if somebody laughs at them, it's just a bonus. So hopefully we get a lot of bonuses today. But hey, I am glad that today's a very special episode of the Constitutionalist. Yes, Eric Rollins is here. He's not away, but he is here somewhat. And we're gonna surprise him with some content, some questions here that you get to know your host of the most, I will say, because you're going to say that, but I beat you to it.
You are the hostess with the mostest.
The hostess of the mostest. I like that. You were a hip-hop artist in the younger days.
I don't know about an artist, but I was able to break dance. I wasn't very good at popping and locking, but I could break dance. I listened to a lot of rap, a lot of country, a lot of bluegrass, a lot of rockabilly. None of them go together. I don't know what to tell you.
Wow, you did break dancing. So if you tried dancing now, will you break, or you just break dance?
Yeah, it would be far from graceful.
Well, you've been very graceful here. Thank you for allowing me to ask you some questions. First of all, we're going to ask you about your social security number and your credit card number. No, we're not going to do that.
Well, darn it.
There's a lot of things people don't know about you here. You're very known in the Valley. I will say in the grassroots effort, you've been behind the scenes for quite a bit. Not like the cabal behind the scenes, but you've been behind the scenes here.
And I've only managed to make a few enemies.
Yes.
I do have a few. One of them I'm proud of. Mm-hmm. No, we're not going to bother to mention names.
Okay.
But one of them I'm proud of.
Okay.
And the others, we get along well enough.
Well, you do speak truth a lot. and to others, it's hard. I think you did the best you can, very calm a lot of times, but you're conservative here in California, conservative here in the Valley, which is the Bible Belt, maybe you might say in California.
Mm-hmm.
But you
right around the middle.
You've stepped up during COVID, and you have said you've been an advocate for freedom of speech, freedom of decisions.
Even freedom of speech I don't like.
Even freedom, you don't like that?
No, I like it, but even if they're saying things I don't like, I believe they have the right to say it. Now, if I don't like what they're saying, I don't have to listen. I'm advocating for their right to say it.
So is that your why? Tell me. I've heard you mention it in other interviews that you do, but your why, you're very passionate about it, and you kind of make it more informational, but tell them about the heart part of it. What really gets you going, fired up, and what makes you passionate and why you do it?
I believe that society is a better place when we have civil debate. Charlie Kirk nailed it in his approach. Mm-hmm. And, may he rest in peace. But long before Charlie Kirk, I loved a debate. I wouldn't say that I was always somebody that was fair about debate, but I loved exploring ideas. How do we really arrive at what we believe in if we're not able to explore those ideas, if certain speech is censored? And as I became more of an adult, still a little questionable at 56, but I'm mostly an adult at this point. Because guys take longer to grow up.
Yes. So during the COVID time, you kind of got that fire in the belly?
Yes, it did.
Mm-hmm.
Within a few days of all of this being announced, I went, well, okay, we've had COVID viruses. We haven't had COVID-19. This is the 19th version of COVID.
Wow, I like that.
But we've had multiple COVID viruses of the same size. They do similar things, meaning they're not so good for us, but rarely are they truly deadly. And so I started listening to and looking at around the world various news organizations, and they'd have a little different perspective than us. And I'm like, well, okay, somebody's not agreeing, and any voice that's dissenting is being stomped on.
Yeah.
Then I started going, well, they're telling me I got to wear a mask, but my understanding is that unless a mask is at least fit tested and a N95, that's a particular type of mask, that's a particular density, and it has to be fit tested, that they're really not effective.
Yeah.
And I'm being told by this little troll, Anthony Fauci, who keeps changing his mind. Like, there's a great video of Anthony Fauci. I'm getting off the subject, but there's this great video of Anthony Fauci where he talks about the COVID vaccine being 100% effective. By the time he's done, it's like, well, it's mostly effective. It's all the way from 100% to mostly over a period of months, because the little weasel, he was lying. He was just making it up as he was going along, and people were dying because of government policy. So within a couple weeks of Trump, and this is Trump 45, declaring, 2 weeks to slow the spread, I'm like, this isn't making sense, and government has decided that they need to protect my health, not my liberty. My liberties is enumerated in the Bill of Rights, which are the first part of the Constitution is about limiting and enumerating what the government can do. And then after that was written the first 10 amendments, the Bill of Rights, and it's about enumerating the rights of the people and somewhat limiting the government, but enumerating the rights of the people, and then saying in the 9th and 10th amendments, hey, if we didn't get around to telling you and we didn't list it, guess what? The rights either fall to the people or the states. We have something that's unique here, and with that unique amount of freedom, we can define our own destiny.
So what do you think history will say about that era? It wasn't too long ago. It's been like 5 years, 6 years now. But looking back, maybe 20 years from now, what is history going to reveal and say about that?
Assuming we fight off the communist scourge, the collectivists, whether you call them communist, socialist, whatever, the people that are all about groupthink as opposed to individual liberty. If the individual liberty people win, and I'm big on America, but we all got to do our part. So I'm assuming that the individualists are going to win. I think they're going to look at that and go, wow. The World Health Organization, along with the globalists, attempted to extinguish liberty in the free world to put out the light that we provide for the world.
Wow.
And I think the important part of that light is, again, I was talking about you can define your own destiny. With all of this freedom, you instead of you were born, and I don't know what your dad did because I've never asked, but in most countries, whatever your parents did, you're going to have either the same job or an exceedingly similar job. There's no moving up and down.
Yeah.
In the United States, with all our flaws, with all the flaws of capitalism, it is still better than anything else. Along with that capitalism, we have this set of rights that are God-given. So if they're God-given, that means that the state doesn't control your rights. That means we have to demand them. That means that they're inalienable. They can't be taken away. And they start at the moment of conception. So from that point on, if you're a U.S. citizen, notice I said U.S. citizen, you have all of the rights. If you're here legally, you have most of the rights of a U.S. citizen. If you're here illegally, we should do our best to show kindness, and otherwise they need to fix that. Whether that means if they're a criminal, going away, if that's somebody that is taking government money.
Wow.
I have a huge problem with that. If you're taking government money, whether it's welfare or health care, you're taking it away from the poor that are here.
That's direct services, also indirect.
Mm-hmm.
They're using the streets, they're using we're paying into the system, and they are receiving the benefits of that here. Or not.
In some cases, they're paying into the system, but in most, they're part of a hidden economy that lowers the wages, that, again, takes up resources. So now there's one more kid sitting in school, or however many more. So would anybody argue that smaller class sizes would allow the teacher to be more effective?
It's very obvious what common sense is, but it's not obvious to the left, and they really demonize the right a lot.
Well, they do, but they move from a place of, again, what's for the common good? Mm-hmm. And then they say, but we care about people. Okay, so they're going from this collectivist position, but they're about hierarchy.
Sure.
So they'll forgive the fact that the policies don't work because, well, the person at the top, they're compassionate and they're trying to help the poor people. They've also decided through this whole woke nonsense that we should all be judged by the color of our skin and however little many ways we can divide ourselves. And the more oppressed you are, each one of those you get oppression points. The more oppressed you are, the higher you are in the hierarchy.
Yeah, they try to say, people say, well, pardon me, they're being hypocrites.
Mm-hmm.
And that's true in a sense, but I'm with you. You know, the hierarchy is they look down, they want power, and that's all it is. So let me ask you this. So the show is called The Constitutionalist. Why the Constitutionalist instead of just a conservative? What does that word mean to you personally?
It means that you embody the principles and foundations of this country. I'm a conservative, so that means that I am trying to preserve the long-standing traditions that have allowed this to be the most successful country in the history of the world. I'm a constitutionalist because I believe that outside of the Bible, that is the document that deals with politics. The Bible deals with your salvation. It does delve a little into politics if you really read, and how to divide ourselves. And there are crazy things like, I don't know, walls and borders that are mentioned in the Bible. But for me, because I was a pretty weak Christian until a few years ago. The Constitution had more of a sway on my life, and I was very political, but I was not very Christian. I wasn't anti-Christian, but this journey towards learning about the Constitution and learning about the foundations, which all really blossomed. I had a foundation, but it really blossomed at the beginning of COVID.
Yeah.
That blossoming, each time I learned more about the Constitution and about our founding and about what the founding fathers thought, I kept getting this profound respect for what they did, but I also went, how did I not see it? It's almost like I want to bonk myself in the head and go, where was I? How did I miss this?
Yeah.
And by miss this, I mean, how did I miss all of those connections between faith and the Constitution? I don't see them as separate documents. I see one as the underlying support for the Constitution. Obviously, the Bible comes first. It's the foundation. But after that, now we've taken a lot of the ideas like free will and enumerated them in the Constitution. Well, a large part of free will, it would be the things you can do in the First Amendment. So those combined together, it just made me so interested in this whole subject. And I thought, well, okay, there was a group I was part of. The word constitutionalist came up. I was in that group. Ironically, I was kicked out of that group. I lead my own constitutional group now. Doesn't matter. We're not going to bother to go into that past history. I think it was a good learning lesson. Though I do want to say to my viewers that I would do exactly what I did. No regrets.
Yeah.
I believe I made all the right decisions, and I hope at some point, some of those bridges can be repaired, but we'll see. Anyway.
Well, I noticed, I've known you for a few years now, and I just say, we've become friends before. We just kind of rub shoulders in different groups and organizations. And I've noticed your strength of faith, your journey has grown and grown. And one thing I kind of watching is that you've seen the Constitutionalist, a great document, and it defined a certain framework for our country, and you love our country, but doing the right thing is beyond. It's part of the American way, but the true American way is under God, and you've been fighting for that, and really hand in glove with faith, family, and also too our freedom here. So, talk a little bit about how a little bit more how the heart of the issue is really our faith now.
Well, it is absolutely the foundation. If you do not have a morality, and I think it's pretty hard to arrive at a set of moral principles without faith. Because what's the higher authority? If there is not a higher authority and you look at morality, then it's just, well, what I thought of.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's no absolute truth without faith.
Wow. So, ladies and gentlemen, you hear on the Constitutionalists, we are behind the scenes about what is Eric Rollins himself. That's a Rollins, not Rollins, right? What is it?
It is Rollins, though I've always looked at it and went, I think it should be pronounced the other way, but I'm not going to win against the rest of the family. That's what
you say. So I say Rollins, but I say Rollins because this is your show. I just hijacked it for today. I am Philville, Philip. I'm here interviewing the Constitutionalist himself, Eric Rollins. And I want to ask you now, so what is a lesson you've learned here doing radio and podcasting all these years now? Maybe the technical part with the fails, the hate mail or the hate looks you get when you're out in public. I mean, what are some lessons you learned doing this?
Well, first of all, I want to say I am blessed that anybody is willing to listen to me.
Yes.
And I also want to say thank you to the people that now have made me on Rumble in the last quarter $2.17.
I was going to bring that up. You are now monetized.
So
$2.
That's better than not being monetized.
Yes.
But I just consider this something I do for fun. It's like all my life I've been somebody that likes to explore ideas, tends to be a little bit argumentative. So I'm not necessarily the easy person to be around because I call it as I see it. You like it or sometimes you don't like it. this allows me to get out and express my opinion. But it's not just that I'm expressing my opinion. I'm trying to create leaders. As I went through that first process when COVID started, I very quickly realized, wow, and there's this incredible parable about a priest that wanted to change the world. And now he's an old man, and he's failed. But he has this epiphany that if he changed himself, he could have changed his family.
Wow.
If he could have changed his family could have helped him change his community, maybe his church. Then his church could have affected maybe the whole state or the country. It all starts with the individual. And so as I realized, wow, I have a responsibility. You know, I was inspired by Reagan, but not old enough to vote for him. I just missed it by not much, just a few years. And he would talk about, we're only one generation away from losing this freedom. And that had this huge impact on me, but I didn't act until I got in my 50s.
Wow.
Or late 40s. Once I started acting, I went, how can I not act? This is what I believe our country needs. We need to move in a direction, preserve what's good. Doesn't mean our country's perfect. Doesn't mean that we don't screw up. But we have to appreciate what's great. Or think of patriotism is being proud of your country, not necessarily always proud of everything the government's doing. Well, if we're not patriotic, how is this country going to survive? In other words, if the people of the United States don't believe that we are unique and special, and that these sets of ideals that are enumerated in the Constitution, that are underpinned by the foundation of the Bible, if we don't have those, then how is the country going to survive? We have to have people that are going to defend the principles. And I've been very pleased since I started. I was pretty depressed when I started. I'm like, okay, doesn't matter if I lose, I'm going to be the guy that, I say screaming, I don't tend to scream. It's pretty rare for me to scream or yell.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be the guy that is yelling, hey, we got to fix this. This is not okay. And here's where the direction I believe we need to move. Well, since then, I feel like I'm a tiny part of the culture shifting. There wasn't a lot of hope in California, for instance, 6 years ago. Democrats had not been in charge as long with a supermajority, but there was not really a very strong armed resistance. I still don't think the Republican Party in California is particularly strong, but within that, there's a group of fire-breathing, wild-eyed, ready to kick butt conservatives. I think that we have at least a shot of having 2 Republicans make it through to the general. It's probably not going to happen. Doesn't mean that a Republican's going to be governor. But I want to point out that in past elections, it was pretty normal for a whole lot of those statewide elections, whether it's lieutenant governor, secretary of state. No, that's not right. Attorney general, etc.
Yeah.
The majority of the time in the last 16 years, or at least since, it's been about 10 years since we instituted the top 2 go through. The majority of the time, it's been 2 Democrats because the Republican hasn't been very strong. Well, all of a sudden, there's this thirst for common sense. Now, that's getting back to that idea of objective truth versus subjective truth.
Mm-hmm.
If truth is just anything I want it to be, how can there be morality?
Yeah.
Where's your foundation? There isn't one. So I would challenge all of my friends on the left. How can there be 12 genders? Oh, wait, it's been a few minutes.
Yeah.
It's 13. Before we're done with this conversation, it might be 16. And I'm not only supposed to agree that there's that many genders, but I should be censored if I dared say anything different.
Now, do you have friends on the left? I don't even...
I do have some long-term friends on the left.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Friends that I've had for 20 and 30 years. But I know where they stand. They're traditional liberals. They're not modern liberals. Meaning, modern liberals don't seem to believe in free speech. For instance...
So 90s Bill Clinton.
Maybe even a little farther back than that.
Okay. JFK,
okay. More in that mold. And I think we have a lot in common. We profoundly disagree in some areas. But since they vehemently believe in free speech, we can have a real conversation. Okay. There's the place where we can bridge the gap, because if our foundation is the Bible, don't we all have a common humanity? Wow. And God gives free will. So that means they have the right and the choice to be wrong. And I just have to be okay with them being wrong. Now, that doesn't mean I want their voice amplified, but I believe they have the right to say it.
Okay, so I'll ask you another policy thing. Here in California, do you think we're headed to clean up our election laws and making it more integrity-driven, maybe national, might impact locally, to give us more hope, more seats, more elections won?
Pressure is coming in multiple directions. Prop 50 was basically a scam by Lord Newsom and his band of drunken Democrats to steal elections. Now, maybe they had the right to do it because the Supreme Court let them have it, but it was very clearly written in a way to benefit a racial group. So I don't understand why the Supreme Court decided they were okay with it, but
yeah,
if the fact that the Democrats would never tell us who wrote the bill, and it was very clear that it was all about having one racial group win, shouldn't be about racial groups, and we have federal laws saying no, you're not allowed to discriminate or draw lines on the basis of race. So I don't quite understand how they got away with it, but they did. In addition, pressure's coming from multiple places to clean up election integrity. One is from the president, where he's saying, look, if I can't get it done any other way for federal elections, I am going to push for voter ID. Now, that's one piece. That's not the whole package. But you've also got the SAVE Act. You've got somewhere around 75% of Democrats and somewhere around 85% of Republicans that want voter ID. Now, I don't know what's wrong with 15% of the Republicans, because how can it not be 100%? And if the Democrats are against it, I don't know how to count that, because how many of them are dead?
Yeah, do you see that? Was it Nick Shirley going to houses and checking in?
108 voters at a house.
That is crazy.
And it wasn't a mansion. It was a regular size house.
And 120-year-olds are living in. Yeah. Okay, let me back away a little bit from the hot topics. Your show, you've been talking to a lot of people in the Valley, grassroots, people running, people in office, everyday community leaders, events, pastors, non-pastors. I just love the wide range. You just like to have interesting conversations.
That's what I care about most. We don't have to agree on everything, but I tend to have people that I'm going to agree in the 60% or better range.
Okay.
Because if I think it's 51, while it might make for an interesting show, it does not move the Valley and the culture in the direction I want. So we have to agree at a reasonably high level. Okay. At 60%, you've got a minimum of 10% you can agree on. At 51, it's maybe only 1%. And I don't want to have a combat show, even though I like to argue. I would rather have a reasonable discussion. For instance, there's a Clovis City Councilwoman that I won't have on because I don't believe it would be a reasonable discussion. And I try not to use 4-letter words on my show.
But
I would think that that would happen. Now, by the way, that is not Diane Pierce, who is a friend. So you can figure out who it is if you want to bother to do the research.
You know, speaking of the different personalities, the different names, can you name a name maybe that you have had on the show that stands out. Like, and I really like that show. I love that conversation. I'd love to have them back. And I think you've had people on a few times. Hold that. Then also, too, who would you love to have as a guest if you had any opportunity to have on?
Well, I'm going to go with, there's been so many interesting conversations. The last show I did with Bill Scott, where he wasn't telling stories about history, we were just discussing events. Now, Bill Scott, he kind of looks like Einstein, pretty smart guy, definitely a friend. I thought that the last show we did was really a great conversation, but I only have to go back to last week. I thought I had a very good conversation with somebody that gives me hope, Evan Travino. So he's a veteran. He's a college student. He's had a White House internship. And here a kid that's almost 28 is quoting Thomas Sowell, who is one of my heroes. He's a black economist. He started in the 70s. He is one of the foundational conservative blacks that has inspired people like Brandon Tatum, Candace Owens, Larry Elder. And Larry Elder's generally thought of as the elder statesman. No. Thomas Sowell is the generation before that. And so to have a young man quoting somebody like that, I thought was just kind of made my day. If I could interview anybody I want, I've thought about this before. Since I like good discussions, it probably wouldn't be President Trump, though that would be the one that would get me probably the most clicks. I'm not so much about clicks. You know, I'm bragging about making $2.17. So clearly, I'm not worried about being big time. Either Dinesh D'Souza, because I think I could have a very intelligent conversation about a variety of topics, and he has a high level of intelligence and great insight. Or actually a little bit off of the political spectrum, somebody that's more of a psychologist, Jordan Peterson. That would be, because he's been foundational in me beginning to understand where I truly where I truly stand. It isn't just Christ. It's, can I now explore these ideas in a non-Christian way so I can articulate ideas? I'm hopefully getting better at it.
Yeah.
Outside of those two, I would actually prefer to interview Rubio or J.D. Vance.
Rubio, okay.
As opposed to Trump. Trump is going to talk when he's going to talk. He's going to have great moments when he's on. He's probably going to be incredibly entertaining. But I'm here for the great conversation.
You're gonna get two questions maybe in, and the rest he's gonna filibust.
Right.
Everything. Yeah.
And again, entertaining, and I'm a fan. I'm definitely a Trump fan. But that's not what makes me tick. So I think I would go a little different direction.
Wow, I like that Rubio. He wears a lot of hats right now in the government, so that'd be interesting.
Rubio, for somebody to be Secretary of State, and he has another position in government, and why is it not occurring to me? I think because I've been working 12-hour days for the last 6 days.
Well, if you don't know, he is an antique dealer. He does that on the side. A lot of things. I'll let you talk about that if you want. But since you're an antique dealer, you deal with a lot of odds and ends. Here in the studio, we have a lot of collectibles that are worth less. My wife was just kidding. They're action figures, collectibles. So what is something that you have found that was a treasure as an antique dealer?
So you want to get junk drunk?
Go ahead.
Okay. Of the things I've kept, and as I've gotten older, because I grew up in the business, I've gravitated towards patriotic things more than anything else. And about 15 years ago, I found this incredible photo. It's about 12 by 15. It's not a real big photo. It's of Uncle Sam. That's not the part that's way cool. The part that's way cool is it was photographed from the air in, I think, 1918, so just after World War I. And it is of soldiers. So there are something like 20,000 soldiers put together in formation with different color uniforms to create a black and white image of Uncle Sam taken from 20,000 feet in the air.
Is that the one on your background behind you?
No,
Kinda-
that's the "Don't Tread on Me"
Okay.
flag.
Okay.
I don't know that I post that one every once in a while just because I love it, but
Yeah.
I'll send it to you before we're done. That
So-
might be fun to put in the thumbnail, but you're gonna have to make it not busy around it.
Okay, so patriotic. So now in my lane, I have Marvel, DC, Lord of the Rings, Thundercats. Thank you, by the way, for the contributing to the
You're
studio.
welcome.
What is a thing that kind of that brings magic from you as a childhood, and you're now collecting? If you see it, if it's like I know you collected. You used to play with Strawberry Shortcake. You used to play with Barbies.
Not so much.
I'm just kidding.
I'm not quite as young as you are.
Okay, you played with rocks.
No, I played with marbles.
Okay.
And that turned into a pretty serious collection of marbles from the
I saw
20s
that.
and 30s by
Yeah.
Acro Agate.
$2 a marble. I was seeing at your
Oh,
shop.
that's not even expensive marbles.
Oh, wow.
A really expensive machine-made marble might be in the $5,000 range.
Really?
I don't have anything that good. I have some stuff that's $500 maybe.
Okay. Wow. Okay, so a plug.
So marbles.
Marbles,
Speak
okay.
to me. I've got this bus that's ridiculous. It's basically, it looks like a city bus, except it's got a cartoon face on the front. It's from the 50s. And it's an advertising piece, a Japanese 10 advertising piece from Japan for Pepsi-Cola.
Wow.
And somehow, years ago, I got talked out of the one from 7-Up. I'd love to have them both. Unfortunately, the one went to Japan, and Kenichi doesn't want to give it back. I still talk to the same guy. We're friends.
Really? Okay.
But he talked me out of it. As far as action figures and, a cartoon.
Pee-wee
I
Herman.
No, I like Pee-wee, but I really love Thundercats. And I also
Wow.
love, Rocky and Bullwinkle because it was always clever. It was, you had this level that was fun for kids. And then if you really listened to the dialogue, there was this more adult dialogue happening at the same time. I love cartoons that catch
My
that.
parents like that. My mom loved that. The only thing I remember of that is Full House version. Uncle Joey or Joey, hello Rocky. He did all that stuff. But yeah, I love Thundercats. Your friend, he has my curiosity. Yeah, I sat next to him at a fundraiser one time for a political event, and he said he had all these Thundercats. You still owe me to take me over there. I want to see all his Thundercats. So,
Oh, maybe Daniel?
that might be him. I think that
Tall, thin, reddish hair?
sounds familiar.
Okay.
So, here in the Valley, support local. Go to Eric Rollins, especially in March, right? Something important.
Well, it'd be better in March.
Yeah, better in March. And come say hello to the Constitutionalist himself. And so I have, before we close,
In Old Town Clovis at 5th Street Antique Mall.
what's the cross streets?
Pulaski and 5th Avenue.
All right. Okay, so there's something that happened recently here in Clovis. Your role in the God We Trust victory in Clovis Chambers. Give us the scoop. Give us a behind the scenes, and give us how did it come about, and then talk about the victory.
Okay. This was led on a few different levels. As far as a politician leading the way, that would be Diane Pierce. She is the mayor pro tem for Clovis, meaning the upcoming mayor, because it's a rotating position. As far as from the grassroots level, I would say I was not the number one person. I was more the number 3 or 4 person.
Okay.
In other words, I came and spoke about it on this show multiple times. I regularly go to Clovis City Council meetings and speak about it. But Bill Scott, the Einstein guy I was talking about,
Yep.
and Kathy Rehart,
Oh, really? I don't know, Kathy. Okay, Kathy.
okay, they went out and they did things like gathered petition signatures for it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of a meeting of all of these like minds, and when we realized that in the county of Fresno, 15 different cities have in their council chambers In God We Trust, their city council chambers. And fairly recently, the city of Fresno added them. Even more recently, the county of Fresno added them. And we're like, there's more churches and there's a higher percentage of Christians in Clovis. How is this not there? So we were like, we got to fix this. Now, whether you believe in God we trust or not, I would simply say you need to get rid of all your cash. You can come spend it with me at 5th Street Antique Mall. Because every one of those bills, as well as the coins, all say something key. It has that national motto. It says, in God we trust.
Yeah.
So this is not some crazy out there thing. This is in our everyday lives. If you touch cash, you have to put up with that. If you don't touch cash, I guess that's your way around it. But if it's there and it's in almost all of the historic buildings, something that's truly old, it's there.
It's there. So what is the argument against it?
The most pushback we got was a little bit from the community where they were like, well, it's not inclusive. Everybody that said it was not inclusive was hard left. When it was brought up to the Sikh community, and again, I didn't talk to everybody, but I talked to quite a number of people. That's an entirely different religion. Most of them are from kind of northern India, southern Pakistan, so Punjab region. They were like, sure, sounds good. When I talked to Hindus, and I didn't talk to a huge number, less Hindus than Sikhs, several dozen Sikhs and maybe half a dozen Hindus. Everybody was like, sure, what's wrong with that? Why would there be a problem? It's only the left that it's almost as if they're anti-God. And
that's it right there, huh?
Yeah, I think that's it. It's like, well, I don't want a foundation. If they deny God, who's the higher power? Think about that.
Yes, in church
who's
terms,
the authority? Yeah. If there's not a God, whether we're talking Buddhism or Christianity, if there's not a God, the only higher authority is man, and man is governed by government. So ultimately, then government makes all the decisions.
Yeah.
We lose what's special and unique about this country. Well, if we lose what's special and unique, what happens to freedom in the world?
I think there is there's a word in Christian faith, conviction. If you let a little more God in your life, more of God, less of me is what happens, because you're letting more of him. And that means less of my own selfish ways, or less of my, let's use the word sin. And it causes change in our way of thinking, makes us more kind, makes us more, the fruit of the Spirit grows, you're more good. And that's what happens. I feel like people don't want less of God because they don't want to be confronted with some of those things that are maybe in their heart. Again, it's a little more probably preachy, but I think it's faith. Faith needs to grow and needs to, in God we trust. There's a trust. God, in this moment, in this direction, in this way, I want to trust you in ways I haven't done before in this area of my life. And I think in God we trust in our local. I love that video. I think I saw Officer Tatum posting it and others reposting Clovis, in God we trust. I'm like, yeah, Eric was part of that, the Constitutionalist in a sense. And so it's a great win. Before we exit, I just want to ask you one thing. GOP, midterms coming up. Is it MAGA forever, Big Tent, or maybe something new? Where do we go from here? Do we have hope still?
Absolutely hope. I think in some places MAGA works, in some places it doesn't. California, I think we got to scrabble towards common sense, meaning Big Tent, to start off with. There are other areas, there are smaller races in the valley where MAGA's what wins. Because the truth is, even if you're going with Big Tent, people are tired of politicians that don't meet their promises, that paint with pale pastels rather than bold colors. They want politicians that have a vision. Now, that's not always MAGA, but they want a vision They want a politician that is going to do what they say or do their darndest losing in trying to do what they said. In other words, they want people that are real.
Yep.
And I think there's a tremendous hunger for that. And I think there's a foundation of people that want that and are willing to get out there and work. We're not all apathetic. Think of the number of people that Charlie Kirk awakened. That he got them to think about their foundation because he was always Christ first, but he also got them to think about, how does this relate to politics? That's a difficult gap to bridge between those two things. I don't think I'll ever be as articulate as Charlie, but if I can do my small part, I think I can make a difference. And guess what? Just as importantly, every one of us can do a small part and make a difference.
Wow, that is the Constitutionalist right there, Eric Rollins. Thank you for letting me just interview a little bit. And he's back at the helm, guys. Don't worry. I did a bad job. Complain to him. No, he's back. He has a lot of guests coming up locally, pastors, politicians, your mom. I don't know. You have somebody. And by the way, he is his profile is on Christian Mingle. No, I don't know. Just kidding.
No, it's not. No.
Okay, no, but he is. Thank you, Eric, for being a great friend. Thank you for joining us here in the Constitutionalist. Don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, and even comment. DM Eric all the tough questions. And if you complain about me, don't just tell him. But thank you for joining us, and thank you for being on Here's the Constitutionalist. We're going to go out with this song. See you next time.